Your final score from Intuit Dome. LA Clippers 102, Golden State Warriors 92. The Warriors have lost 7 straight to the Clippers on the road, and they dropped to 500 for the first time this season. Started 12-3, and now 3-12 in their next 15. And now they're going to have to fight hard to stay above, to get back above 500, because they got the Phoenix Suns on the back end of a B2B tomorrow night.
Hello there. Back to 500, as Kevin Dana said right there on that final call. And you just heard it all here on 95.7 The Game. Warriors falling to the LA Clippers 102-92. Welcome into Warriors wrap-up. Sam Lubman will be your host tonight as we recap the Warriors' 6th straight loss to the rival Clippers. And again, after a 12-3 start to the season, the Warriors, after 30 games, are right back basically where they started, right at even for the first time this year ever since this team was 0-0 to start the season. That great start is officially erased, and there are just so many questions surrounding this team in terms of just what you do next. Where does this team go? How good is this team actually going to be this year? A season with so many expectations, a season where just a few weeks ago it felt so good. They were on top of the world, the Warriors. Again, that 12-3 record had everyone in Dub Nation thinking that the world was possible, but unfortunately there were a lot of concerning trends from those first 15 games, namely the Buddy Hield revolution. Buddy Buckets, he was a big part of that 12-3 stretch, and he is unfortunately a big part of the ensuing 3-12 stretch the Warriors have capped off tonight, and not in the good way. Not just piling on Buddy Hield, obviously. I think a part of it is also you have regressions from players across the board. Draymond Green started off the year shooting great from three-point range. That is no longer the case, and there's so many other things you can point to as to how this team ended up back to where they are. And I think it's a very fair question to ask right now. Who are the real Warriors? Who is this team? Is it that 12-3 team? Probably not. Are they as bad as this 3-12 team that we have seen since then? I certainly hope not, but would love to hear from you as got Cam Williams working the board today. He's going to be the one pressing all the buttons, keeping us on air. Thanks for unlocking the phones there, Cam. Would love to hear from Dub Nation tonight. What are your thoughts on this loss? What does this say about the Warriors that they are back to 500? This was a few weeks ago, would have been a somewhat crazy thing to say that this team would be back to 500, but that is the case here. So where's this team at, Dub Nation? Who are the real Warriors? 888-957-9570 is the number. Would love to hear from you. Let's dive into this game a little bit here. We will be hearing from Steve Kerr very shortly, but let's start with the positive tonight. And I don't know, maybe a bit of a controversial positive, but that is one Jonathan Kaminga. 34 points, 10 rebounds, big double-double for the young guy. 22 years old, putting up numbers like that. Career high 34 points for Jonathan Kaminga. Without Steph Curry, that's definitely worth a round of applause. I agree. Without Stephen Curry, without Draymond Green, someone had to step up with that scoring void. And by golly, JK absolutely did that. And the unfortunate part was no one else really showed up to help him in the scoring. Trace Jackson-Davis was your second leading scorer for the Warriors. The only starter to get into double figures, by the way, is the second-year center out of Indiana. 15 points, 9 rebounds for him. The rest of the starting lineup, but a pretty interesting starting lineup. Now, remember, we knew yesterday that Steph Curry was not going to be playing. You know, this was a planned rest day with the back-to-back coming up. The Warriors are going to be in Phoenix tomorrow night, taking on Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, and the Suns. Notice how I don't say Yusuf Nurkic there. We'll definitely get to that later in the show. Yusuf Nurkic did a no-no tonight in the game against the Mavericks. But don't worry, we will definitely get into that. That guy needs help, as they like to say sometimes. But The first end of a back-to-back. Steph, he's got that bilateral knee tendonitis, which, again, for a 36-year-old who is basically everything to your organization, you are not going to take any risks there in terms of overworking your star player, overworking Steph's 36-year-old knees. This is a guy who has played 34-plus minutes, I believe, in 5 of the last 6 games before being rested tonight. So definitely understandable that head coach Steve Kerr would rest Steph tonight. But no Draymond Green either, as he's dealing with a back injury. He went down hard in that Christmas Day loss to the Lakers, which no doubt aggravated that injury. So you have to sit him too. So right away, you are out your best scorer and your best defender. And credit to Jonathan Kaminga for picking up the offensive intensity there in 36 minutes with those 34 points. But when you are missing your 2 best players like the Warriors were tonight, you need more than just Jonathan Kaminga to step up, because as great as Jonathan Kaminga is, there are still flaws to his game. He's 22 years old. He's still young. He's still developing. And we can scream until we're blue in the face how developed Kaminga should be this year. I definitely think the Warriors expected him to be maybe a little bit further along than he has shown at times this year. But he still played a hell of a game tonight. He's still been having a great season. He's still been getting some phenomenal dunks. It's just the consistency factor. There are moments where he looks incredible on the defensive end, where he's incredibly active. He's using that length, that athletic ability that is just such an asset to him. But then there are times where you just don't know where it is. He's standing in space, not knowing where to go. He's not seeing he's not picking up guys on the defensive end. The inconsistency is maddening sometimes for Jonathan Kaminga. But especially in the second half tonight, where Kaminga really started kind of waking up, really started carrying the Warriors here. I mean, this is a guy who in the first half, he had 13 of his points in the first half, responded with another 21 points in the second half, and was a big reason why the score could have been a lot uglier without the effort from Jonathan Kaminga. There was a point where the Clippers were up 20 on this team late in the third quarter. Kaminga absolutely doing everything he can to rally this team, scores 15 fourth quarter points. Warriors at one point, they were within shouting distance. This was a 6-point game late in the fourth quarter. Unfortunately, though, you exert all that effort to get back in the game, and once it gets close, that's where the Clippers really just kind of have to clamp down on defense, and that was all she wrote for this team. So we'll dive more into this game as we go deeper into Warriors postgame. Again, Sam Lubman here on Warriors wrap-up here on 95.7 The Game. Definitely want to hear from Dub Nation, though. 888-957-9570 is the number. Where do the Warriors go after this loss? What kind of team are they? Are they a better than their record indicates? Are they worse than their record indicates? Are they exactly what their record indicates? And more importantly, again, what are you going to be doing with Jonathan Kaminga? It feels like half of Dub Nation wants to keep him around no matter what. Half of them wants to just ship him out of here and whatever trade they can use to get Stephen Curry some more help to get that next ring. A lot of questions and not a whole lot of answers. The only thing the Warriors really do have going for them right now is they do have time. The trade deadline is not for another couple months, and they're going to try and have to wait this out as long as they absolutely can to get a clear picture of what they are working with. Do want to go to the lines right now, though. We got Nicholas in Pacific Grove. He wants to give his thoughts on the Warriors in this loss tonight. Nicholas, thank you for calling into Warriors Wrap-Up. What do you got for us today?
Hey, Sam. Just saying that Kaminga did really well tonight. I mean, 34 points, 11 free throws, super well. I mean, I just felt like it was a showcase game almost, but the bigger concern I felt was Wiggins. Only, 2 of 11 or something?
Yeah.
It was very concerning. And it felt like that's where it's like a trade for Butler, because I always thought Wiggins would be really, kind of untouchable, but even though we'd have to give Kaminga too, it's like we need someone who can actually score, because Kaminga's good, but you never really notice this when he's not playing with Steph or Dre. So
yeah, no, it's a good point there, Nicholas. It does seem like Kaminga's best games do always come when Steph and Draymond are not there, and that's why you have questions about the fit with Kaminga. Obviously, we know he's best in the 4 spot, And that's kind of Draymond's spot. So it's obviously you can't really play them on the court at the same time unless Draymond's handling the center position, which that's not really something at 24 years old with a bulky calf, with a bad back, with a litany of other injuries and mileage accumulated over that body, a very physical and aggressive style of play that he plays. It's hard to really bank on Draymond Green holding down those center minutes consistently every night. I mean, he could give you bursts here and there, but he cannot be your primary center. That's where you need guys like Trace Jackson Davis and Kevon Looney to step up. And TJD, man, he was great tonight. He had a lot of great putback dunks, very active on the boards, obviously, by the 9 rebounds. But, yeah, Nicholas, he brings up a good point. A lot of concern with Andrew Wiggins. 2 of 11 shooting, 5 points on the night, a -16 plus-minus, 2 rebounds, 2 assists. And from a guy who was the second best player on the most recent championship team, that's just not good enough. Now, is this a sign that we need to trade Andrew Wiggins? Listen, it's Andrew Wiggins is, no matter what trade they make, Andrew Wiggins will probably be a part of it. But let's not just overreact from a poor performance tonight. Andrew Wiggins, he could easily bounce back tomorrow night, have a much better game, but he's never going to be a guy who's going to be consistently lighting the scoreboard up either. Andrew Wiggins has been very good for the Warriors, but yeah, nights like tonight make you wonder how desperately are we as Dub Nation to see the Warriors hold on to Wiggs here. Another concerning aspect tonight, Dennis Schroeder continues to get off to a very slow start here in his Warriors career. He is shooting, I believe, 28% now in his 5-game Warrior career. That was 14 of 50 in his 5 games, averaging about 8 points a night. I mean, this is the guy who who when he was acquired by the Warriors, was averaging 18 points a night and shooting 45% from the field. And Dennis Schroeder, this is a guy who's ping-ponged around to a lot of different teams. He knows how to assimilate into different rosters because he's had to do it so many times. I think he's got like 8 or 9 teams on his Basketball Reference page that he has played for. But it's just he hasn't had a whole lot of time to truly run with this team consistently to where he can finally get that fit within this system here. Now, how the Warriors use him, obviously, there's a lot of concerns there as well. But as of right now, it's just he hasn't had the time to really fit in yet. Now, you can look at it as, these last 5 games, those have been kind of that's Schroeder's best chance to get acclimated to this team. And there's been times where he's been on the court with Steph, been on the court without Steph. A lot of debate. Do you play him with Steph? Do you play him not next to Steph? I do think you're going to be seeing him more with Steph than not. But at the same time, Dennis Schroeder, this guy who was acquired on the Saturday before the Warriors played the Mavericks. I believe that was December 7th, if I'm not mistaken. And there might have been the weekend after that. I'm spacing on the dates here. No matter, though, the Warriors acquired Schroeder right before that Mavericks game. And he didn't arrive in time to suit up for that game, so he had to miss that one. And then the Mavericks blew the Warriors off the court there. But then you had 3 days in between that Mavericks game and the Memphis Grizzlies to get Schroeder assimilated into the system. And clearly those 3 days were not enough. And now he's kind of playing catch up here a little bit. That's just kind of the situation the Warriors are in right now with Schroeder. And eventually it will hopefully click. The Warriors absolutely need it to. But some of the shots that he took tonight, again, he finishes 3 of 11, 0 of 6 from 3, 7 points, 1 rebound, 5 assists. And some of the shots he took were just awful. The Warriors took a lot of awful shots tonight. Unless your name was Jonathan Kaminga, you were taking a lot of bad shots tonight. Warriors shoot 36.8% from the field, 18% from 3. Let me just say that again. 36.8% from the field tonight for the Warriors shooting. That's 35 of 95, 7 of 38 from 3. Listen to these 3-point numbers here. I mean, obviously, Andrew Wiggins goes 1 of 3. Not horrible. You got Kyle Anderson, slow-mo, which My God, he is unplayable on the offensive end of the floor. I know his whole thing is defense. He's not really expected to be scoring, but there is a sequence early in the first quarter where the Warriors, Buddy Hield slung it over to Dennis Schroeder on the wing. Schroeder sees slow-mo right under the basket, wide open, no one within 5 feet of him, dumps it into him. Slow-mo's got the easy bunny there, can't get it in. And it's just, that's the Kyle Anderson story sometimes. It's just the shots, the shots that look like they should just be falling right in, they simply don't. And for a defense-first guy who just has no scoring, that's tough for a starting lineup that is struggling to get offensive consistency and keep this team in games early on and not have to count on the bench to bail them out. But so anyway, Anderson 1 of 2 from 3 there. Buddy Hield, though, 1 of 6 from 3, and he finishes with 5 points. And it's pretty simple. When Buddy Hield scores a lot, the Warriors usually win. The problem with that, though, is that he's just not scoring that much. And this is why Buddy Hield, again, has been ping-ponging around the league. Guys who are able to consistently hit threes don't change teams a lot. But with Buddy Hield, it's a lot of quantity over quality. And you saw that tonight. You've been seeing that a lot during this 3-12 stretch here. And then, of course, Schroeder with the 0-6. But it gets worse because Moses Moody was 1 for 5 from 3 off the bench. Lindy Waters, the third, you probably have to take the third out of his name because he was 0 of 6 from 3. All he took were 3-pointers tonight. Lindy Waters, 0 of 6 shooting tonight. All 6 shots from 3. All 6 shots failing to find the bottom of the net. And that is why, despite taking 25 more shots than the Rockets, 25 more shots more than the Clippers, you still lost by 10 because the Clippers shot 53% from the field, 31% from 3. Much better shot selection. Whereas the Warriors, it just seemed that time there was really no plan on offense. It was just chuck the ball up, and then the second half, it was just, let's just feed Kaminga and let him cook and hope that someone else can help him out. And you did see TJG helping out a little bit. That was about it, though. Brandon Podziemski had a couple good shots here and there. I thought his shot selection was a little bit better. There were a couple times where I noticed where it looked like he wanted to just chuck the 3 up with 12 seconds left in the shot clock, but he did do that extra pass. Glad to see he's showing that awareness there. He hit that shot at the end of the first quarter there where I'm thinking, oh, man, he's going to be chucking them up all night if he can hit that one. But credit to Pods. He did not get overzealous with the shooting. I thought he was very good in his shot selection. So, it was a solid night for Pods. That said, 4 of 9 shooting, 2 of 5 from 3, only 10 points in 30 minutes of play. That's kind of the season you've been having for Brandon Podziemski. You're forcing yourself to really kind of dig out positives there. But at the end of the day, it's just never enough. That just seems what it is for the Warriors. It's every single night they put the effort in. Some guys are stepping up. Some guys are doing their jobs. But the effort's just never enough. And you talk about Steve Kerr earlier this week. He was talking about how this team needs to find its confidence. Losses like this are going to continue to erode at that confidence. As the old saying goes, the beatings will continue until morale improves. And all those good vibes that we were once talking about with the Warriors at the start of the year, coming into this season after the undefeated preseason, the 12-3 start, they are very, very much long gone. So 888-957-9570 is the number. Want to hear more from you at Dub Nation? Your thoughts on tonight's game? What does this game mean for Jonathan Kaminga? Is this the kind of game that shows that Jonathan Kaminga is a fixture for the Warriors' future? Or was this the kind of game where we're just he's in his show him off era? Let's just showcase Jonathan Kaminga to the world and hope that there's a team out there that wants to throw a superstar at the Warriors in exchange for Jonathan Kaminga's services. So 34 points for Jonathan Kaminga, 11 of 14 from the free throw line. This is a career night for Kaminga. And he did it stepping up in the absence of the Warriors' 2 superstars. And he did everything he could in that fourth quarter to will this team to a victory, doing a lot of it in ISO situations. But when you're cooking, I guess that's what you got to do. Feed the guy who's hot right now because literally no one else was hot with their shooting hand tonight at all for the Warriors. We're going to go out to the lines again. Steel Toe and San Mateo. Steel Toe, man. Andrew Wiggins, just not a great night tonight. What's the deal with Wiggins? Can they count on him going forward right now?
Yeah, thank you, Sam. Wiggins, since the day he was drafted, was never a guy that could carry a franchise to the playoffs or any championship. He's a role player, and he was a very good role player in 22. He is not a leader or a guy who could carry a team. That's what pisses me off about Steve Kerr. Steve Kerr has this delusions like he got magic and he could go find another Stephen Curry or another Klay Thompson with all this three-point shooting with a bunch of G Leaguers. That's the goddamn problem right there. I want to trade Steve Kerr to Hamas and free the hostages. Can we do that? Thank you.
I don't know about that, Steel Toe. That might involve people who are outside of the Warriors organization to be able to pull off such a trade. Man, look at that. We're not trading Andrew Wiggins. We're not trading Jonathan Kaminga. Let's just go right to the head coach and trade Steve Kerr. That's how much this season has just gone off the rails in these last few weeks here. This month for the Warriors has just been an absolute nightmare. I mean, it's been a tough stretch to begin with the schedule being what it was. Warriors facing a lot of teams this month that are chasing playoff, are going to be in the playoff hunt. You go back to the start of this month, obviously you got the loss in Denver. You got the big win against Houston. You split against Minnesota. Then you had a 3-game losing streak to the Rockets, the Mavericks. Sorry, it was Sunday, December 14th, so I was a week ahead on that Schroeder trade. But yeah, then you have that 3-game losing streak to the Rockets, Mavericks, and Grizzlies. You get the nice little reprieve in Minnesota last weekend. And then 3 more losses this week against Indy, the Lakers, and the Clippers. All these are teams that the Warriors will see should they make the playoffs. And by make the playoff, not just make the playoffs, they'll play in. Some of these teams are going to be bumping into there. Houston, they're rising up to the 2 seed right now, but they're a young team. They could fade. Minnesota's kicking it around in the play-in right now. The Lakers basically are setting up shop in the play-in box all year long. The Clippers enter tonight in the 7th spot. You're going to be facing the Suns tomorrow. They're hovering around that play-in as well. These are teams, of course, you already lost to the Suns in Phoenix earlier this month. So these are teams that the teams the Warriors have seen this month that are giving this team so many problems. You're trying to figure out who this team is. This is a team that really struggles to beat the teams that you need to beat if you want to make a playoff run, which I'm pretty sure that's still the goal for this Warriors team, is to make a playoff run. How feasible that is, I'd say it's up for debate. It's probably not a huge debate right now. It's hard to, what was that? It is really hard to, most drops don't throw me off like that. That was a weird one there. Shout out Cam Williams on the board. You know what, on that thought, let's just go back to the lines right there. We got Don in San Francisco. Got to talk about this Warriors situation. Don, what's the deal with this Warriors situation right here?
I'm gonna get this off my chest. I'm just kind of disgusted. Like what, we can't even protect the leads like the early games. That's why starting from losing from San Antonio and all this. I don't know. Something's got to change. I don't know what it's. That's not. I don't know. Everybody's playing together. It's just not like it's not connecting. I'm talking. I'm saying.
No, it looked very disjointed and disconnected tonight, Don. You're absolutely right. It just there was not a whole lot of ball movement that you were seeing on the offense in the first half. You saw this team get only 12 assists. Again, that's 12 assists in the first half there. I believe they finished with, let me get this actual number here, the 24 assists on the night. So an even 12 and 12 in each half. We all know Steve Kerr loves hitting that 30 mark when it comes to assists, but 24 assists on 35 made shots. That is not Warrior basketball. That is just gross loser basketball. Warrior basketball is supposed to have a flow to it. You are not seeing that flow tonight. And part of it is just this offense looks disjointed coming out the gate. So tonight you saw a starting lineup again of Wiggins, Anderson, Trace Jackson Davis, Buddy Hield, and Dennis Schroeder. I'm kind of curious if Draymond Green and Steph Curry are in the lineup, what's the point of bringing Kaminga off the bench? He has been consistently your best scorer when those guys are not playing. If the goal is to get off to the best start possible in the first quarter, and not have to play catch up consistently like the Warriors have been having to do this past month, you need more scoring punch in that first unit there. And going with Kyle Anderson over Jonathan Kaminga, that's kind of a head scratcher. We're going to hear from Steve Kerr on the other side. I'm hoping someone maybe asked him about it. We'll see when we play it. So definitely stick around there. 888-957-9570. Jonathan Kaminga left out of the starting lineup when Draymond Green and Stephen Curry were out due to their respective injuries. Are you on board with that? Yeah, or do you think Kaminga should be coming off the bench? He's been averaging about, I believe, 14 points a night coming off the bench, about 16 points a night when he's in the starting lineup. So the difference overall is scoring-wise, just off the stat sheet, isn't terribly different. But at the same time, this is a guy who he dropped 34 points tonight. You could have used some of that scoring punch early on. This is a team, they were trading buckets early on until you got an Ivica Zubac, gets that hook, get a couple hook shots there, turns a 9-9 game into a 13-9 game. Zubac again, another hook shot, makes it 15-9. And the Clippers, they're starting to pull away here. And that's your first unit. Basically, falling behind early, forcing to play catch-up. And I believe Glenn Osbuki said on the broadcast late in the fourth quarter that when you're playing catch-up all night, it tires you out. It tires this team out. And it is hard to win games when you are constantly trying to play catch-up. Because what happens is, you're in a situation like the fourth quarter where you're down double digits, down big by double digits, and you scramble back to close this gap, but you exert all that energy there just to close the gap. And then the Clippers get a couple shots off, and all of a sudden, all that work that you see this team put in to get back into this game, it just seems for naught. And that's the downside of constantly having to play back from behind. So here's how that fourth quarter looked. At one point, you're down 18 after you get Jonathan Kaminga splits a couple free throws. You're down 85-67 at one point. Then the Warriors start going on a run, though. And they start working back into it. They cut it down to 16, to 14, to 12. They get the Jace Jackson-Davis dunk with about 6 minutes left. That makes it a 10-point game. Now you're starting to get, you're starting to see them. You're starting to get within spitting distance. Jonathan Kaminga gets a couple, splits some free throws. It's a 9-point game. This was during a stretch in the fourth quarter where I believe they went 4 minutes without allowing the Clippers to score. And that ended with a Zubac hook shot with about 4.5 minutes left in the fourth quarter. And right there, though, that turned a 5-point game into a 7-point game, and the Clippers never really let it get all that much closer. Moses Moody hit a 3 to cut it to 91-88, and that's really where you started like, all right, they got back into this. Let's get a stop and a score, and then we're now we're cooking. Now we're talking about a massive comeback, and if you're talking about getting the confidence back from this team, being able to come back and get a win like this, making it a competitive game even, could have gone a long way to really boosting the confidence of this team. Instead, though, right after that, James Harden gets a floater. He loves those floaters. You know how he loves those floaters. And then you get a couple free throws from Zubac, makes it a 6-point game. Get a nice little dunk there from Derek Jones. Then you got an 8-point game, and then right off the bat, that was where that alley-oop dunk from Derek Jones from James Harden with about 1:21 left, that felt like the backbreaker. That turned a 6-point game into an 8-point game, and from there, that sapped the momentum from any potential comeback there, and that was all she wrote. So a very frustrating loss for the Warriors, and it seems like we're saying that quite a bit right now. And it's a 12-3. It's a 3-12 stretch over the last 15 after a 12-3 start to the season. Where did it all go wrong? It all goes back to that Saturday, November 23rd night in San Antonio, the start of the 5-game losing streak that just completely turned this season on its head. So on the other side, we are going to hear from the head coach, Steve Kerr. We'll take more of your calls. We'll wrap up this game. We'll take a look around the league. It is Sam Lubman. It is Warriors Wrap Up. And it'll hopefully be your calls. More of all this after this break.
hammers it home. 23-21. Warriors back on top by a deuce, and Kaminga with 7 early points in 7 minutes.
Now back to Warriors Wrap Up on 95.7 The Game.
Ooh, false start on your boy there. That was Kevin Dana there with the call for right here on 95.7 The Game. Wait, what? No one is doing the jobs that they're supposed to be doing. Kevin Dana is on the call for the Warriors. Tim Roy was on the TV call. I'm here, Sam Lubman, on Warriors Wrap Up instead of Mark Grandy or Evan Giddings. We're all doing different things tonight. But Jonathan Kaminga there, that was the dunk at the start of the second quarter, and he was leading the Dubs early on in that second quarter. Now, this is Warriors Wrap Up, but we are a sports station, which means we do have to react to news as it breaks. Cam, if you could, please.
95.7 The Game, breaking news.
Oh, of course, I'm the one who gets to be doing Warriors Wrap-Up when Corbin Burnes announces his decision on where he will go. And the team that Corbin Burnes will be pitching for in the 2025 season will be not the Giants. Yep, we're back to this again. Right, this is per Jeff Passan, right-hander Corbin Burnes, and the Arizona Diamondbacks. That is right. The Arizona freaking Diamondbacks are in agreement on a 6-year, $210 million contract. Sources tell ESPN. Arizona gets the best pitcher on the market after a quiet winter, and Burnes gets to play for a very dangerous NL West team. John Heyman had the news as well. Per Bob Nightingale, as if the salt in the wound couldn't sting anymore, Corbin Burnes was offered more money by the Giants and the Toronto Blue Jays, which, for all the trouble the Giants have had with signing free agents the last few years, man, the Blue Jays, they have also been taking it pretty rough. But the big tax difference in Arizona is what swung Corbin Burnes there. Burnes heads home. He is an Arizona resident, even though he went to college at St. Mary's over in Moraga. He will be heading back to his home in the desert. According to John Heyman, who originally had the terms of the deal, it'll be Burnes to the Diamondbacks, $210 million for 6 years. There will be an opt-out after 2 years, so Giants fans can have their heart broken again in a couple of years should Corbin Burnes decide to opt out from that deal. I'm not gonna lie, that kind of irritates me. The fact that he would take less money in Arizona because of the tax differences. Like, I get it. California is a high-tax state. It's an expensive state to maintain. There's a lot of things got to pay for to keep it running. You can blame whatever politician you want, but at the end of the day, these guys are making enough money where I seriously doubt the taxes matter all that much. Yes, it's easy to say when I'm making only a 5-figure salary and the taxes hurt me a lot more, but keep in mind, here in the Bay Area, you live next to one of the great modern gold mines in Silicon Valley. There's a lot of investment opportunities there. Ask Andre Iguodala. He made his money go to work for him out down there. It's just, the whole concept of tax is just so dumb. Like, taxes didn't chase away Steph Curry or LeBron James. They kept Clayton Kershaw here in California. Harrison Barnes came back to California to play in Sacramento. Last I checked, Sacramento's in California, which means you're subject to California taxes. Willie Adamas, that didn't stop him from coming here, having to pay taxes. So it's just, that's just weak sauce, choosing taxes as a reason why you're going to go to the desert and finish in third place for the next 7 years. So, yeah, I'm not bitter at all. I wanted Burnes. But anyway, Corbin Burnes, he will not be a Giant. He will be going to the Arizona Diamondbacks for the next 6 years, $210 million. If you want to find a positive, though, the Giants were not outbid. You know, if this was Farhan Zaidi, he would have found out the Giants' offer was like $180 million with a couple player options. So I guess the one benefit is the Giants are still not afraid to throw money around. And if you're looking for the Giants to throw that money in a different place, well, according to, I believe it was Mark Feinsand was reporting that, no, it wasn't Mark Feinsand. It was someone else from the New York media. I don't have their name off the top of my head. But there were other reports of, I could probably pull up who was saying this earlier. I'm talking about Pete Alonso, who is, according to Dan Bartels of the New York Post Sports, it is confirmed that Pete Alonso was offered a 3-year, $90 million from the Mets, but Alonso is looking for something more in the $175 to $200 million range. Giants got a $200 million plus burning a hole in their wallet, in their pocket right now, that they're going to throw at Corbin Burnes. I don't know. Why not turn around and throw that big old chunk of change at the polar bear. Maybe add a couple more million on because apparently taxes are a problem there. So anyway, that is all of our Giants-related breaking news for the evening. Again, Corbin Burnes to the Diamondbacks. Giants, what are they going to do next? We will find out when the Giants make their move. Back to the Warriors here, because this is Warriors wrap-up, and the Warriors did lose to the Clippers 102-92. Jonathan Kaminga leading the way with 34 points on 11-19 shooting, went 11-14 from the free throw line, too. And he was probably one of the lone bright spots tonight, along with Trace Jackson-Davis, who added 15 points and 9 rebounds. But that was about it. And when only Kaminga and TJD are getting the job done, that will not, unfortunately, get the job done. What does this game mean for the Warriors' future? This is a team that started out 12-3 and is 3-12 cents. You know, as the great philosopher Eminem might say, will the real Warriors please stand up? We don't know which Warriors are standing up because we don't know what team this is. You know, like, what does this team do well besides fall apart in the clutch? What does this team hang their hat on? What is their strength? What is their direction for the future? It's kind of hard to say when Steph and Draymond aren't playing, but even when they are playing, you're not really seeing the wins come together. And this is going on almost a month now. You know, November 23rd was when this team was 12-3. It has been 34 days since then. And this season has gone completely in the opposite direction to the point where 30 games in, they are back at 500, back at where they started, with far more questions than answers. And you're talking about what they're going to do with Jonathan Kaminga. Every game, Jonathan Kaminga will be on a bigger and bigger microscope because it's either he's playing for his future with the Warriors or he's playing for his trade value for the Warriors. What move they make is going to determine how he plays on a night-to-night basis will determine what they do with him. Because right now, it is hard trying to get him to work with Steph and Draymond. There's some tinkering that Steve Kerr has to do with these rotations here, and he has not found that secret sauce yet to make it work. And so that leads me to believe, it's been my belief kind of for the last couple of weeks here, that we are in the final days of the Jonathan Kaminga era. He is going to put up these great numbers. Teams are going to kick the tires on him. And the reason I personally believe that Jonathan Kaminga will be traded, I've said it before on this station, is that when NBA free agency starts, there will be a team out there that will throw a Brinks truck of money at Jonathan Kaminga because every year teams do this. They just recklessly spend their money, and someone's going to give Jonathan Kaminga an offer. And because Kaminga is a restricted free agent this offseason, the Warriors will have a chance to match that offer if they decide that they want to pay the money that other team is trying to pay Kaminga. And I can absolutely see Kaminga getting a deal that the Warriors just don't want to match. So if that's the case, the Warriors don't want to pay him the money that he's going to get. What's the point of holding on to him? Because holding on to Jonathan Kaminga is not going to be the missing piece that gets the Warriors out of the play-in, through the playoffs, and back into the NBA Finals like the plan is supposed to be. And so it's every night now. We're going to be asking these same questions until the Warriors can start showing some semblance of consistency. Every night's going to be, well, who did what to their trade value? Andrew Wiggins' trade value went down a little bit tonight. Jonathan Kaminga's went up. Yeah, is Dennis Schroeder? Is he a lock to be on this team on February 16th, the day after the NBA trade deadline? Don't put it past this team to move Dennis Schroeder if they need to, if they think that they need to find a piece to make this team better. So we're going to hear from the head coach, Steve Kerr, here for the next few minutes. He's going to talk about this loss, again, a 102-92 loss for the Warriors tonight to the Clippers at Intuit Dome. So we're going to hear from Coach Kerr, going to get some final thoughts on tonight's game. We're going to go around the league. So that's going to be the schedule here up until 11 o'clock when we call it a night. Here is Warriors head coach Steve Kerr talking to the media in the aftermath of a 102-92 loss to the Los Angeles Clippers.
Describe the fourth quarter comeback bid, and is that full court pressure trapping thing something you could see deploying in the future?
I was inspired watching that group. That was fantastic. Down 20, 21, whatever it was, they kept fighting and, loved the defensive energy. It's something that we just haven't done well. last couple weeks, and I think we had maybe 6 deflections against the Lakers, and they just completely controlled the game. They never felt us defensively, and tonight I think we forced 12 turnovers alone in the fourth quarter. So that's the kind of energy and intensity we have to have that we showed early in the season, and obviously it wasn't enough, but it was, as I said, inspiring to watch them.
How do you kind of, I guess, try to recreate that when it's not a down 19 type situation?
Yeah, I mean, we have been a pretty aggressive defensive team this year. Blitzed a lot early in the season, not as much lately. Every game is different and every team is different, and so I think you can't do it against everybody because of the shooting threats, the possible ways that things can backfire, but you always have to have it in your arsenal to be able to change the game, and our guys did that, and we cut it to 3 and we had a chance, just couldn't get over the hump.
What are you seeing offensively right now when Dennis is at the controls?
I'm sorry?
What are you seeing offensively right now when Dennis is at the controls? Why hasn't he been able to get going?
Well, it's always difficult to go to a new team in the middle of the season and not know your teammates very well. So it takes some time. He's still basically in training camp with our team. I mean, he's been here less than 2 weeks, I think. Played 4 or 5 games, so it's just going to take some time. But what you do is you trust who the player has been for 10 or 12 years, and you trust that he'll get comfortable and settle in, because it's a tiny sample size we're talking about. He also came to us at a time where we've been ice cold, so he needs shooting around him. He's a pick and roll player. We were 7 for 38 tonight from 3, so he's coming off pick and roll, making some plays. He's going to be fine, but we've got to gain some confidence shooting the ball and find multiple guys in one game who get it going. That's the way to win in this league. You can't just rely on one guy. Tonight, JK was that guy. He was brilliant. I loved his game tonight. Just the purpose, the intent, the rebounding. He just played with force, and that's what we need from him. But last game it was Steph was that one guy. So we've got to get multiple guys, and that comes with confidence. We've obviously lost some confidence, but we're going to get it back. I've said this over and over again. I love this group. I love the competitive fire that they show. Tonight was a good example of that, and. Long season, we're back to square one, 12-3, 3-12. We're right in the thick of everything. I know it's tough when you're in a stretch like this, but we're where we need to be. We got to find it. We got to find the combinations, but that type of energy, that's what we need to turn this thing around.
That was Warriors head coach Steve Kerr there addressing the media after the game. Starting off, though, in that presser, he talked about the defense that we saw there in the fourth quarter. And again, there was a stretch of time there in that fourth quarter where Warriors held the Clippers scoreless for about 4 minutes here as I looked through the score sheet here. So you had a pair of Norm Powell free throws at 8:51 to make the score 85-66. That's a 19-point lead from the Clippers. The Clippers did not get the ball to go into the basket again until Ivica Zubac, and there he is again, there's that man, gets the hook shot with 4:36 left to make it an 87-80 game. So in the span of 4 minutes, you held the Clippers scoreless, one of the better defensive efforts we've seen from this team all year long, made possible by a lot of baby Warriors, really, when you look at it. Here's the minutes distribution for that fourth quarter. Andrew Wiggins, the one-time number 1 overall pick and the unquestioned second-best player on that 22 championship team, 0 minutes. Kyle Anderson got the start tonight for some added veteran defensive presence, 0 minutes. Trace Jackson Davis scored 6 points in the fourth quarter in 11 minutes. Buddy Hield was part of the closing unit. He played about 2 minutes, 44 seconds. Jonathan Kaminga, 11 minutes. And then you got Brandon Podziemski, Moses Moody. They played the full quarter of 12 minutes. and Lindy Waters III, despite not connecting on any of his 3 shots in the fourth quarter, was a part of that defensive lockdown in that period. He played 9 minutes there. Your closing lineup tonight was TJD, Lindy Waters III, Jonathan Kaminga, Moses Moody, and Brandon Pajemski, which I think if you combine those 5 together, I think their combined age is like 28 years old. That's how young all those guys are. That was the Warriors' youth in the future kind of at work there, strangling a veteran-laden Clippers team on the defensive end of the floor for a large part of that final period. And if you're looking for positives to take away from this game tonight, that was it. Like that is, along with Jonathan Kaminga, that defensive effort there. Like, how do you seize that? How do you bottle that up and inject that into the veins of everyone else on this team on a nightly basis? Steve Kerr was saying, this is a team that's been very aggressive on the defensive end. I would agree with that for the first 15 games of the season. Ever since then, though, it's just there are times like the third quarter where the Clippers just absolutely blitz the Warriors in the middle part of that third quarter. Clippers won that period 32-19, but it was just a blitz job there. It was 51-47 at one point before the Clippers just go on an absolute tear there to end the period. The 14-6 run to end that third period, just an absolute disaster, but the young guys did make it interesting in the fourth quarter there. So how do you recreate that defensive intensity? That's for Steve Kerr to figure out. But it's just, he mentions the confidence there. When he's asked about Dennis Schroeder, he talked about, getting some confidence there for Schroeder and shooting wise and how difficult this is. He's basically in training camp right now. But this is a team that I know they're young, but this is still a pretty veteran heavy team. And this is a head coach who's one of the 15 best to ever do it. I don't know. To me, it just seems weird that we are making such a big deal about confidence for a team that is, they should know better. I mean, you got guys on this team who have played in multiple NBA finals. You have guys in this team who have been in this league for several years. I know there's a lot of young guys on this team, but this is where you need to see these older guys picking these young guys up, helping them feel confident. But it's on the coaching staff, too, to put these young guys in a situation where they could feel empowered. I think you maybe saw that a little bit in the fourth quarter tonight. Will it translate? Who knows? The Warriors do come back home tomorrow night to take on Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, and the Phoenix Suns. Let's take a look around the league now, and we'll start with those Phoenix Suns because, my God, what a game that they had tonight. First off, the Mavericks played the Suns tonight in Phoenix. The Mavericks won 98-89 here, starting to go around the league. Kevin Durant dropped 35 points to lead the Suns. Kyrie Irving pacing the Mavericks with 20. Our old friend Klay Thompson, 1 of 6 from 3. He finishes with 11 points. But the real story of the night is Jusuf Nurkic and Najee Marshall, who I believe, was in the third quarter of this one. They got to a little bit of a dust-up, and here is how that one sounded.
Oh, wow. Wow. Yeah, 2 offensive fouls on Nurkic. He got his left arm up high against Gafford. Oh, my goodness. Najee Marshall and Jusuf Nurkic, there probably are going to be ejections. There might be a suspension moving forward.
Yeah, probably going to be a suspension moving forward. When will it get handed down? Maybe it might be tomorrow, but that was Jusuf Nurkic smacking Najee Marshall in the face after he got tied up with, I believe it was Kyrie Irving on that play. And it's just, I shouldn't laugh, but I kind of have to laugh, Cam, because I'm talking to Cam Williams, our board op for the night, Warriors Network coordinator. This is the same guy who got whacked by Draymond last year that led to Draymond's indefinite suspension. And Jusuf Nurkic, from the top of his high hill of morality, said, that guy needs help. Well, you know what, Jusuf? Funny how those things come around. So, yeah, hopefully you can get a little assistance there. So Jusuf Nurkic goes full Draymond Green on Najee Marshall. So that's what happened in that game. Mavericks 98, Suns 89. Suns coming into Chase Center tomorrow night, possibly without Jusuf Nurkic. We'll see if the Warriors have Steph Curry and Draymond Green at their disposal. Elsewhere around the league, It was the Knicks, 108 over the Magic in Orlando. Magic's at 85, so it's 108-85 was your final there. Knicks pulling away late in that fourth quarter there. Jalen Brunson pacing the Knicks with 26. Jalen Suggs adding 27 on 10 of 20 shooting from the field for the Magic. It was the Celtics, 142 over the Pacers, 105 at the TD Garden on the parquet floor. Jaylen Brown dropping a 44-point performance for the Celtics. Tyrese Halliburton pacing the Celtics with 19 points. Jason Tatum adds 13 rebounds, 12 on the defensive side. Peyton Pritchard, 9 assists from him as the Celtics improved to 23-8. The Spurs were in Brooklyn taking on the Nets. Victor Wembanyama dropping 19 points for the Spurs to lead them to a 96-87 victory over Brooklyn there. 19 points for Wemby there, also adding 7 rebounds as well to that performance. The Minnesota Timberwolves were in Houston taking on the Rockets. They came out to play. They did not actually come out to play, though. Not enough. They fall to the Timberwolves 113-112 on their own floor. Julius Randle dropping 27 for the Timberwolves in the win. And then it was Alperen Sengun leading the scoring for the Rockets at 38 points. Pretty impressive performance there with 12 rebounds. But again, not enough. The Rockets fall to 21-10. Timberwolves get the win. They improve to 16-14. The Grizzlies were in New Orleans in a high-scoring affair. They beat the Pelicans 132-124. Jaren Jackson Jr. with 33 points. Trey Murphy III, 35 points for the Pelicans. Zach Edey continues his terrific rookie year with 9 rebounds for the Grizzlies. And that is the score there, 132-124. And in a battle of big boys, so to speak, the Cleveland Cavaliers were a mile high in Denver tonight. They won 149-135. Yeesh, and we're complaining about the defensive effort from the Warriors tonight. No defense to be found in that one there. Donovan Mitchell leading the scoring for the Cavs with 33. Jokic adding 27 points of his own to go along with 14 rebounds. So Cavs beating the Nuggets in Denver tonight. They maintain their spot atop the East right now with a 4-game lead over the Celtics for that 1 seed right now. They are followed, of course, by the Celtics, Knicks, Magic, who have that 4 seed right now. Bucks and Heat, that is your top 6 in the East. In the West, the Thunder still leading the way with the Grizzlies, Rockets, and Mavericks. Close behind the Lakers up to the 5 spot right now. With the win tonight and the Nuggets loss, the Clippers are out of the play-in box. They are in the 6th spot right now. Nuggets, Timberwolves, Warriors, and Spurs, they are your play-in teams, and they will welcome the Phoenix Suns tomorrow night. The Warriors, that is, who are also 15-15. We're starting to be 15-16 now after that loss. So Suns, they're trying to get their season back on track. And then right behind them, and we can't end the show without giving a shout out to not the Sacramento Kings, but the Sacramento Kangs, because they kanged hard today. The big news in the NBA today, they're saving it to the end, the Kings announcing that they are firing head coach Mike Brown after 2 seasons and change. The summer after signing a contract extension that will take him through the next 2 seasons after this year. And nothing is more Kings than that. And this comes a night after the Kings had a horrifically embarrassing loss to the Detroit Pistons. There was the whole thing of De'Aaron Fox not getting a closeout there on the final play that led to a 3, gets the foul. Pistons get the free throw to win the game. Mike Brown, very critical of De'Aaron Fox after the game. De'Aaron Fox not really taking the responsibility that a supposed number 1 guy should be taking. And the result is just an absolute poo show from the Kings. Mike Brown held practice today, held shoot around, met with the media after this practice, met with all of his players on the court after practice, was seen chatting with De'Aaron Fox for a couple of minutes. And then as he gets into his car and is heading to the airport so that he can embark on the ensuing road trip that the Kings are about to go on. And that is where you get the call, or that's where he gets the call that he will no longer be employed by the Sacramento Kings. Just chef's kiss for that level of dysfunction there. That is the Kings that we know and love, that we have been seeing since basically to the mid-2000s. This is why this team, the Kings, are just constantly spinning in circles, going nowhere. They empower the wrong people. They make the wrong decisions. They fire the wrong coaches. And Mike Brown, who snapped a 17-year playoff drought, the longest in North American professional sports until the Jets break it in a few years. And they reward him by showing him the door a couple of years later. And I can't help but wonder, that Game 7 against the Warriors a couple of years ago when Steph dropped that 50 bomb, you got to wonder if the Kings had somehow rallied to win that game, how different that would have been for their organization. Unfortunately, they did not get that first-round win. They were scuffling all last year. They can hang the banner, "We ended the Warriors." Let's be honest. The Warriors kind of ended themselves. The Kings just happened to be the team that got to enjoy that. But back to wandering the desert go the Kings there. And it looks like that is a team that will be very much blown up into smithereens. And I don't know, is De'Aaron Fox, is that a guy that Warrior fans going to start looking at now as a potential scoring option next to Steph Curry? I mean, why not? We don't need to play defense in the modern NBA, but that is for Mike Dunleavy to figure out and while working with Steve Kerr. So we will see how that goes. So the Sacramento Kings never failing to not disappoint here. So that will do it for us here on Warriors Wrap Up. This has been fun tonight. I got to do these more often, get a little better at them. Warriors fall to the Clippers tonight. 102-92 is your final. We'll be back tomorrow. Warriors tip off at 5:30, which means Warriors Live will start at 4:30 with one of Evan Giddings or Mark Grandy. I am not quite sure who it will be, but it will be one of those two. Got your A-list Warriors host with you tomorrow night. I will not be here. It will be one of them. So thank you to everyone who called in and everyone who was listening tonight. Big shout out to Ken Luttrell and Carter Chickering, who were cutting the highlights for tonight's game. And, of course, big shout out to my guy behind the glass, Cam Williams, for pressing all the buttons and making sure that we are staying on air. That will do it for Warriors Wrap Up. I am Sam Lubman, and we are going to call it a night. Good night, everybody. It's Warriors fall to the Clippers, 102-92. Hopefully we can get things going in the right direction tomorrow. Good night, everybody.